Blah 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 blah. Hello everybody and welcome to I'll Tell You What TV, the unofficial Formula One podcast, including myself, Dave, Steve and James. Hope you both are well this evening.
Yeah, great, yeah.
Not bad, not bad.
I can't believe you just called me a knobhead. That's quite sad, right?
Not bad.
Well, where do we start talking about the Monaco Grand Prix? Well, I think there's only...
I've got a suggestion where we start.
Well, I've got a suggestion as well, and I think I know where yours is. Yours is Ferrari, mine's Niki Lauda.
I were going to just say... yeah, you call me Buff. You've got it right. I'm going to say Ferrari.
Yep.
yeah, you're right. We should talk about Niki.
Well, I mean, you could include Ferrari in with Niki Lauda. Obviously, Niki Lauda passed away a week ago, and obviously devastated the Formula One paddock. And you know what? I'd probably say up until a few years ago, I didn't really know much of the guy. I knew of him, like if I saw a picture of him, I know who he was, but I didn't really know much of the history of the bloke. And then I watched Rush, and then it was like, okay, now Rush isn't 100% factual.
Fiction. Factual, yeah.
Yeah. About 80% fact is what Niki Lauda said, but it opened to my eyes to him as a person, and since then I've viewed him differently, and I can honestly say he's definitely one of those people that you go, yeah, you know, there's no bullshitting from him, is there? And I don't think there's enough people like that in the world.
No, definitely not. That's all I'm going to say.
In terms of other people in the F1 paddock that don't talk bullshit, I don't think there's anybody else, really.
Well, there's one that's close, I suppose, Gunter Steiner.
Oh, yeah, Steiner, yeah.
But, you say that, but when it's the
media,
official media is very candid with what he said. Obviously, on the Netflix series, you see more of him. But Niki Lauda was always open and honest with everything he said all of the time.
True.
And that's what made him different. He just didn't care. Well, I wouldn't say he didn't care. He cared to the point where he wanted to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, slightly going off topic a little bit, but I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast last night with Mike Baker, who's a former CIA agent. James will remember him. And he was telling a story about how he was walking with his oldest kid away from the school, and he'd just played a softball game, the child had. and he asked his dad how he got on in the game, and his dad was like, well, do you want me to be honest with you, or do you want me to blow smoke up your arse? And the kid turned around and said, I want you to be honest with me. So Dad said, well, to be honest, you sucked a bit. You need to improve. And the reason you're not playing much is because you need to improve. And there were two parents behind him with their kids, and they started giving him shit for being honest with his kid. And it's like, hang on a minute, hang on. So that kind of sort of brutal honesty, it's one of those things. It's a little bit like, okay, if you've got a mate that stinks, do you tell him or not? And it's not nice to hear, you stink, mate, you need a shower. Yeah, but that brutal honesty is less painful than the alternative.
I think it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
But sometimes Nicky could say stuff, and I don't know if it's just because he's a bit foreign, and it came across a bit more brutal than it actually meant to be. A bit like what we say with Dave the Arse. A bit brutal, but that's just, I don't think he means to be brutal.
Yeah.
Are you saying that Dave the Arse was foreign? He's only a scarf.
For his listeners, in case they don't know who the hell Dave the Arse is,
he's about to send us a message saying, fuck you, James, you wanker.
No, get the word right, cunt.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going back to Nicky Lauda, I mean, yeah, he was obviously a lot of people have been paying their respects towards him, and a lot of people have said this, that he is one of those people that has been called a legend and is actually entitled to it. Whereas there are many people that are called legends that aren't really.
A lot of people get called legends once they've passed away. And people struggle for a term for people of a certain ability that I don't necessarily would say are a legend. But he was a legend, a living legend. He was entitled to being called a legend while he was still alive. He didn't have to pass away to become a legend.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I hope I've still got this picture, because it was a picture of a. Here we go. Right. Okay. So this was something that Nicky Lauda did some years ago. Right. And this was what he'd written, I think. And it was about a TV show host. So he's written, well, she was one of those American TV morning show hosts. They came to the Nürburgring, and this woman, tall, blonde, the whole package, wanted to do an interview exactly where the accident happened. They were all like, oh, he's going to cry for sure. This will be a really big emotional moment. However, I had taken a little croissant with me from the hotel buffet and put it in the grass beforehand. She starts, Mr. Lauda, how is it to be here? And I said, just a moment, walked a few steps into the grass, and she asked, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, look, here's my ear. She was done. She totally lost it. They had to shoot the whole thing again.
Yeah.
I mean...
That's his personality is just shining through there, though, isn't it? That's what it was like.
Yeah, yeah, and it is going to be a shame to not have him around the Formula One scene. But I must admit, it has made me wonder whether the film Rush did sort of alienate the perspective of him a little bit and made him look a bit of a bad guy, like he was the baddie and James Hunt was the goodie, kind of thing.
I think though, from an English or British perspective, that was the way it was done at the time anyway, because James Hunt was English and he was the opposition, so to speak. So I don't think it was necessarily the film that portrayed that. It was more the fact that, I suppose in a way, it's like now it's Lewis Hamilton and Vettel, or Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And it's like, it's not who's good, who's bad. It's like one's British, one isn't. So you want to support the British one. So if you support the British one, that means you're going to have negative thoughts towards the other one. And, kind of like that.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit like, like I say with Vettel, I mean, we don't like Vettel. And it's... I've never been a big fan of Ferrari, but you put someone like Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, I'm a fan of Charles Leclerc, so I'm a partial fan of Ferrari. However, now we can get on to your part of the topic, James. Because what the fuck? I mean, we said it at the last podcast. We said we've talked a lot about Ferrari and how much they fucked up over the course of this season, but are we really going to be sitting here again saying, what the fuck are they up to?
Well, I just personally feel like it looks like a company that is really well funded, but unfortunately it's currently being run by people who it's a bit like Lucasfilm.
12 minutes is all it took this time. Well, you know what, James, you've been doing really well recently in about the last 8 months of not involving Star Wars. So
that's because they've been on the podcast twice in 8 months.
So yeah, sorry, James, go on.
Well, it's a bit like Lucasfilm at the moment, right? It's Lucasfilm in name, but it's not really Lucasfilm. It might as well be called Disney, and don't call it Lucasfilm, even though it is a completely private entity.
So what would you call Ferrari? Fiat?
Fiat, yeah. It's like
it is more like a
Fiat.
Fiat.
It's not really Ferrari. It's I don't know how to word it other than they're not themselves.
They're a shell of themselves. Shell.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, the thing that's getting me is, okay, going into Monaco, right, there's one rule in Monaco, really, if you're, let's say I'm a team boss, right, or a race engineer, and you two are my drivers, there's one rule here at Monaco: give it your all and qualify as high up the grid as you can, right? So how can Ferrari have an experienced member like Jock Clear, who has been a race engineer for a number of rookies, which is why he's been tasked to be Charles Leclerc's race engineer to help him in the process of becoming brilliant? How has he himself allowed his driver to end up in the situation of sitting in the pits, possibly getting knocked out of Q1 by his teammate?
I feel like it's a bit like a rudderless ship. Nobody's accepting accountability for anything. No. And like you say, you got someone like Jock Clear, who I think he were at Braun and he were at Mercedes. I think he was Lewis Hamilton's engineer for a bit. And like, I don't know. It's like, because there's no big boss there other than Harry Potter and his wand.
Yeah.
There's no, I don't know, there's no person to go to and go, what the fuck happened there?
But the thing is, there should have been. I mean, I do know that Charles Leclerc had said to Jock Clear, along the lines, I'm paraphrasing here, along the lines of, we need to get out there and we need to be on the track. I don't think we're safe. Now, I don't know exactly what Jock Clear's answer was, but they did not go out. Now, Jock Clear may have said, I agree with you, I think we should go out. And somebody above Jock has said, no, it's all right, it's safe. But I'm sorry, in that situation, you have your car out on track, putting in sector 1, putting in sector 2, and if you need to, abandon the lap.
You look at the situation, right? If Leclerc had been just ahead or just behind Vettel on track, yeah, they would have known he would have needed to have set a lap time.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite clear with 2 minutes to go, he needed to be on that track. Yeah. It was too late.
Yeah.
I mean, there was other drivers that were on that track that probably didn't need to be on the track towards the end of the session.
Yeah. I mean, Hamilton and Bottas had gone out again, hadn't they? I don't think they were still out at the very end. But, I mean, that is a monstrous fuck-up, especially when... I mean, it is the equivalent of having Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone getting knocked out in Q1 because they didn't go out. I mean, it's Charles Leclerc's home race.
Well, I would say it's worse than Silverstone, and the reason why I say that is Monaco Grand Prix, all right, because it's a street circuit, because it gets used in between the sessions, it rubbers up on every single session. It cleans up, and it's also one of those tracks where the car is less of a percentage of what you depend on from your lap time. The driver, can make a big difference there. That's why Ricciardo was able to do quite well in qualifying, because he's good round Monaco. A good, confident driver can make a big difference. I mean, you look at the difference between Magnussen's qualifying time and Grosjean's. Grosjean didn't have the confidence; he couldn't put the time in the car. Magnussen could, and all it was going to take was a few of those drivers that had confidence that were going to, do a faster lap time than what.
The thing is, though,
Leclerc had done.
The thing is, though, with Magnussen, his confidence comes from, I don't care if the barrier's there, I'm going to push it out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, James, I think, needs to stop playing Battlefield because he's concentrating so hard on his war that he's not chirping in on this conversation.
No, yeah, well, Magnussen's just a dickhead anyway.
Well, I'll save you a little bit here, James. I mean, Steve mentioned that Monaco, there's more to it with the drivers and all that kind of stuff. But there's even more than that to it, right? Monaco is one of those circuits on the calendar where you bring your sponsors, you do your deals, you show off to anyone that's involved in running your car, your team. It's the glamour event. That's why it's called the glamour event. It's where you show off. But how do you say? Yeah, we've got a real good chance of winning the championship. Yeah, but we did like forget to send Charles Leclerc out because we thought it'd be on. It's a little bit like, yeah, all of our sponsors go and stay on this boat we've got for you. Now there's half a chance that big hole on the side of it could end up lower than the waterline the more people that get on the boat. But don't worry, we think you're gonna be safe.
Well, I just don't understand who the hell is. Because who do you go to? Why wasn't there somebody in the media going straight over to Ferrari, going over to Harry Potter and being like, "What the hell are you playing at?"
Yeah.
Because I know if it were a British driver, they'd be going mental.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Charles. Yeah. I can imagine the Italian media may be going mental. I know there's been a lot of posts on social media recently, but with it being in Italian, I've not been able to read it. And I could have translated it, but I couldn't be bothered. But I mean, you're right. If it was a British sports person, I mean, let's say Anthony Joshua this weekend turns up for his fight, does shit, gets knocked out in the first round. The British media is going to go fucking mental, wondering what the fuck has happened there. And they'll ask him outright, what happened there, mate?
Well,
whereas...
So, what... I mean, he were... I think it were quite close. I think there were so many drivers within about 6/10. But still, you'd think to yourself, for the sake of one set of tyres...
Yeah.
Why would you risk it?
Yeah.
I know that they go, oh, well, that's an extra set of tyres you've got for the race, but but that means fuck all if you're starting back there.
Yeah, it also means fuck all if you're only actually going to use 2 sets of tyres in the race, maybe 3 at a push. I mean...
And I've got to admit, Charles Leclerc probably... I know he's still young and everything, but I did like the move he did on Lando into the hairpin.
Yeah.
But then he started to lose his head.
He did, didn't he? He got a hint of Hulkamania coming in, didn't he?
He did, yeah. With the car ended up looked like it had been chewed up. But I don't know. I kind of felt a bit sorry for him because, yeah, you could say, well, you shouldn't lose your head. But in that situation, you're going to start losing your head when you just start looking at TV screens around circuit and seeing bloody Vettel right over half at circuit and you're only 8 laps in.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, what the fuck? How are they all the way over there?
Yeah.
But with Monaco Grand Prix, it's one of those where in a way, he should have been taking his time to come through the field because safety cars always close it back up again. Okay, it was him that brought the safety car out, but there could have been somebody else that would have brought the safety car out had that not happened, and that would have closed it all back up again.
I've got to admit, I've got to say, I really do think that there's something completely fundamentally wrong. Well, I say this every week. There's something completely fundamentally wrong with Formula One because, I mean, Danny Ricciardo, he won last year with like half the horsepower of everybody else, just because he was in that position. It's, I don't know. I would just kind of sat there, and I have said this to you, that I'm getting to a point where if my mum and dad said, I think we're going to get rid of Sky, I probably wouldn't be too fussed. I'd be like, well, I'll just watch highlights 5 minutes.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, I can understand you having that thought process, and I can understand anybody thinking that when it comes, especially to Monaco. But for me, I view Monaco very differently, right? In that you're not going to get loads of action, and a car that is hurt can still win. So for me, those last sort of 20, 30 laps, I actually found quite interesting because it was like, okay, is Hamilton's tyres going to go? Is he going to end up in the barrier? Is he going to get a puncture? Can Verstappen get him? Hamilton's rear tyres are good enough to maybe save him. So for me, I found it entertaining and exciting.
Hang on, Dave. Hang on. I got a message off you.
Yeah. Do you want to know why I fell asleep?
What did it say?
It said, I've nodded off for 10 laps. Have I missed anything? But that was nothing to do with what was happening on the track. It was because I'd only had 3.5 hours sleep the night before. I got up and thought, you know what, I'm going to do myself a nice big dinner while I'm watching the pre-show. And I finished my dinner about 8 laps into the race, and then at about 15 laps in, I nodded off. Or 30 laps in, I nodded off.
I'm just going to go grab my headphones.
Okay. Yeah, so me falling asleep wasn't anything to do with a lack of excitement on the track. It was just simply I was fucking knackered. But yeah, I mean, so for me, I found the race quite exciting in a very different aspect of it, not because of action and overtakes. It was tension, and it was Hamilton being put into a situation where his tyres should not last, and there's a good chance he might crash. And that was a situation that, I mean, Brundle said it on commentary part way through. He said, like, this is one of those situations where it could end up being a drive of a champion. And every now and again, you get one of those drives. A little bit like Danny Ricciardo last year at Monaco. That was the drive of a champion. Where there is no way he should have been able to win that race. I mean, you take Charles Leclerc at Bahrain. He had pretty much exactly the same problem that Danny Ricciardo did. But on a circuit like Bahrain, you're helpless. There's nothing you could do. Now, if Leclerc had managed to actually still win that race, champions drive. Okay, so for Danny Ricciardo to be in that situation and do it, it's in that league. And for Hamilton to go that long on those tyres and to be able to take the victory, I think was up there with, or very close to, the likes of the Senna-Mansell battle, the Ricciardo-Vettel battle from last year. Although last year Vettel did pretty much just sit there and think, well, I'll drive past him with ease in a moment, and it never happened.
That was weird though last year, because you would have thought that Vettel would have had enough power to drive past on the straight. I mean, you do see overtakes on the start-finish straight.
Yeah.
So from time to time, okay, it doesn't always come off, but you'd have expected it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. It also, for me, it was a damn good test of Max Verstappen. It was have you matured? Have you got...
Did he pass or fail?
I'd say he passed just. He only really ever had one opportunity to make a move, and he attempted it, but it was a touch late. Hamilton saw it, squoze him, and I do think it was touch and go as to whether it was a fair defence or not. So it was kind of 50-50 for me. So that's one of those that I think if I was to look into it, I may be able to go, oh yeah, well Hamilton, yeah, he blocked him, or Verstappen was way too late. But from what I have seen, I probably would agree that it was a racing incident.
All right. After, bearing in mind he was struggling to keep up or get past, or however you want to put it. Something that the commentary team mentioned at one point, I don't know whether you were actually awake for this bit or not, but the commentary team said, well, if he stays behind Hamilton, he's going to finish in 4th place.
Yeah.
So why not pit him, put him on fresh tyres and finish in 4th place anyway? If they'd have done that, he could have gone for fastest lap. And then he would have had one more point than he did have.
He could have done, but okay, the situation was slightly different. I do think that had Verstappen been able to get past Hamilton, he'd have been able to pull a 5-second gap. I think that would have been possible. And the reason I say that is, you look at when Bottas got blocked by traffic and he ended up 5 seconds behind Vettel. He closed that up within a lap and a half.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why Mercedes-Benz didn't switch the strategy near the end. You know when Gasly pitted?
Yes.
I don't understand at that point why they didn't go, well, Bottas ain't going to lose all other than track time. He ain't going to lose track position if we pit him now. Put him on some super soft tyres and see if he can get through past the 3 cars in front. Yeah, that might screw Hamilton up, but it might, if Verstappen does eventually get through, at least we've got somebody to go after him. If Verstappen had got through with 15 laps to go, there's no way Hamilton would have got after him.
Oh yeah,
he'd have just had to stick on the tyres.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one though. I would potentially say at any other track, yeah, I agree with you. At Monaco, it's one of those things where they say track position is king. So it's like, okay, on the road we're sitting in 4th, it's going to be a 3rd. If we pit, it's going to be a 4th. Unless we're fast enough to catch back up and get within 5 seconds of Verstappen, we'll stay where we are. So it's kind of touch and go around Monaco as to what to do on that one. But what I found interesting, and I mean Hamilton said it himself, is like, why are we on this tyre? Because there was no way that tyre should have got to the end.
Yeah.
But I think
I've got a theory on it.
So have I. Rain.
Go on then.
They expected rain because it was 90% chance of rain before, is what was said before the race, I think it was. Or am I confusing it with Indy? But anyway, one of them was 90%.
No, it was 90. It was 90.
It was 90.
But at least if you stuck the hard tyre on, you covered both circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah, but the theory was that as the track would have gone from dry to slick to increasingly more damp to the point when you'd need the inters, the medium tyre would have coped with the changeable conditions better than a hard tyre because it would retain the temperature more. So it would drive through that damp condition a lot better than a hard tyre would.
Well, they fucked Bottas over then.
Well, no, because they put Bottas on medium tyre, but he got a puncture. So he had to pit again. So on his second pit stop, at that point, they realised that Verstappen and Vettel were on the hard, so they put him on the hard to cover what they were doing, or to at least match what they were doing.
Yes,
I can't understand though how you can. I understand that they give Max a 5-second penalty, and to be fair, when they did release him, I don't think Bottas were. I'd have to really see a super slow-mo that pit lane exit.
I've had a good look at it, but go on.
5 seconds to me seemed like really lenient.
Yeah.
A bit like what I didn't understand with that other one where somebody else got a penalty. Somebody else got a penalty, 5 second penalty, and it was like, what's the fucking point in that? Because there's nobody behind him within 20 seconds.
Well, that was Grosjean, but Giovinazzi spun Russell Rascasse.
Yes.
Yeah. Now he didn't lose track position. As in, Giovinazzi was still behind Russell after the event, but had spun him. But they had both lost positions on other cars.
Yeah.
But Giovinazzi gets a 10-second penalty. All right. And why is he getting a 10-second penalty when Verstappen has hit another car, damaged it, and forced it to pit again? Okay, he's not lost too many positions.
Yeah, but he's lost points.
Yeah, right. But not only that, it's in the pit lane.
Yeah.
The smallest pit lane on the calendar, right? And there was carbon fibre flying up in the air.
Yeah,
I mean, that could quite easily have shot straight up into a steward's face or marshal's face. It could have gone anywhere, though. But do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a 5.
Into a steward's face. Fuck you, rules.
But you know, it's one of those situations where the penalty structure doesn't seem right in that aspect. Where
and
a contact on track, 10 seconds. A contact in the pit lane, 5 seconds. Pit lane's more dangerous.
Yeah, and then contracts. You never know what's going to go on.
Hang on. I've not even discussed was it an unfair release.
Go on.
All right, unsafe release, I should say. And James, you were saying about you've not really looked at it in slow-mo or anything like that. And I think what you were going to say was the Mercedes already moving when they released Verstappen?
Yeah, but was it out? Was it in the pit lane when Verstappen was given the go, or was he just heading out of his pit box?
Well, before you do answer, Steve, what I would say there is all of the teams on the outside of the pit lane have a marker that says if there is a car at this point, you cannot release. So the question should actually be, was the car or any car beyond that point of safe release? Steve, go on.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know the answer to that, but what I can answer is the Mercedes was halfway into the fast lane of the pit lane, as we call it. Yeah. It was already halfway into there. But I can't imagine that, this thing that Dave was on about where there's a marker saying if the car gets up to this point, then you've got, it must have been past that. Must have been. Because, he got a 5-second penalty for an unsafe release. That's what the penalty was for, not the contact. But my argument is that contact in the pit lane should be more of a penalty than the Giovinazzi penalty.
Well, if I were a team, right, and I wanted to have the fastest pit stop possible, but I wanted to avoid a penalty at all costs, I would have the person who's got the override button on the other side of the pit lane.
That's not a bad point.
On that little walkway, you're just standing there with the hold button every time it's dangerous. And whenever it's not dangerous, you let go of it and the automatic system can run.
But they're on the balcony looking down.
Exactly.
So they can see everything.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think, because it is a bit of a curve, if you were opposite your pit garage looking back down the pit lane and you were holding on to that hold button to override the automatic pit release, and you saw Bottas just coming out and he's literally a car length behind Max. Is he? Oh no, he'd have been 2 car lengths back. So he's just coming out. Then you've got more of a gauge on. My car's stationary. There's a car already going 50 mile an hour, 3 car lengths away on the left. And you know what I mean? So you could gauge it more. Whereas I just feel like they can just go, oh, well, I couldn't quite see. Because there's too many people in there.
But not only that, though, behind Bottas was Vettel.
Yep.
And there was no way they were going to fit Max Verstappen out between the two.
Exactly, that's sort of what I was just about to say, because I've just been looking for some pictures, right? And I haven't got the exact picture that I want, but I'm going to send you a couple. On the first one I've sent you, you'll see what looks like a Swiss flag, and that's actually the marker for, I think it'd be Alfa Romeo. I'll send another picture as well. This one's from behind, and on the back you'll see like white squares hanging off the barrier, and they are basically the markers. And I think there's one that's, I think on the, it's difficult to really see what is written on the back side of them, but they are the markers for the safe release points. So I'm pretty sure that Red Bull will have had them as well. But I do agree with you, Steve, that if they, they should not have released Max Verstappen, right, if Bottas was beyond the safe release point. And if he is at or beyond the safe release point, Verstappen comes out behind Vettel. Because, I mean, as these couple of pictures show, I know I'm not showing them on the live stream, but these pictures show, I mean, on this first one, there must be, 20, 30... 24, there must be 60 team members there, and that's just Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes. Then you've probably got another 20, 30 other people ahead of the cars, and that's not including all of the other teams' mechanics. It's a dangerous situation for people to be in. So unsafe releases are something that should not happen, really. And what I was going to mention a few moments ago was, right, because I did watch the Indy 500. Would you like to know what the penalty is in the Indy 500 for
touching one of your pit crew's feet with your wheel as you drive in?
Yeah, for touching and making contact with equipment or a team member.
I know what it is, but James won't.
Nothing.
You drop to the back of the field.
Yeah, that would be a big deterrent for dickheads.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. One of the drivers, Will Power, that did it, he accidentally nudged one of his bloke. Well, a bit more than a nudge. Hit one of his team members.
I'd say his team member was in the wrong place.
I wouldn't.
Which one was that? The one where he nearly drove over his foot, or the big accident?
I'm on about the one where he hit the fuel guy.
Yeah.
And Will Power actually said, as he was dropping to the back of the field, he did say, Jesus, if I'd have known this was what the penalty was, I'd have gone a bit slower.
Yeah.
And there you go. There's the answer to it. So if you're a dick in the pit lane, you can go to the back of the grid. And in IndyCar, they've 33 cars on the track, so that's a long way to fucking drop. And I think he was in about 5th or 6th at the time. So, yeah, I think Formula 1 need to potentially have a damn good fucking look at that. Because I agree with you. I don't think the penalty was harsh enough. But at the same time, I'm not entirely sure if that should be a driver penalty or whether that should be a team penalty. Because
it's a team sport. They always go on about that.
I know, but the driver has no control over that situation whatsoever. None at all.
But it was just, I suppose it's not like, okay, you've blown your engine up. Here's a driver penalty. Like a grid drop. I mean, that is driver related because you've got to look after your engine by the way you drive it. But how do you penalise the team other than taking points off the team?
Well, there you go. That's how I'd do it. Take points off them. I mean, the other one.
I don't think that would work though, because I think you'd have teams go, do you know what? As a constructor, we're probably not going to win the constructors' title.
Yeah, we can afford to take a hit.
But let's try and win this race, and we'll and take risks.
Yeah, I mean the other penalty that someone got, you mentioned, was Grosjean. He crossed the yellow pit exit line on the way to turn 1. By the way, I did actually
saw it.
I did. I spotted it live, and I was like, he might get a penalty for that. Now his was a 5-second penalty, and in the grand scheme of things, it did mean fuck all. But that for me, I don't see as a problem. That is a simple. Do not cross this line. If you do, it's a 5-second penalty.
He lost the position in the end because Ricciardo pushed on the last few laps to close it in.
Yeah,
He lost it by a tenth or something.
I can tell you exactly how much it was because I do have the race result here. Let's see, Ricardo was 60.894 behind the leaders, and Grosjean was 61.034, and James pisses like a tap.
No, it's a tap. It's a tap. Sorry.
It's all right. So okay, it did result in a position loss, but that's a penalty that for me that's as simple as if you do this, your penalty is this, and I prefer rules that that way because then you know exactly. There's no argument then. It's like, well, did you go over the line? Yeah. Okay. Well, here's your penalty. There's no arguing that. Whereas a little bit like with the Verstappen one, I mean, I'm sure Red Bull will be looking back at it. And I know that on the commentary, like they were saying, well, there was a lot of people, they could have been in the way, blocking the view. Well, that's where your sort of situation comes into it, James, where you're like, well, hang on a minute. If you can't fucking see, how the fuck are you supposed to abort a pit stop? I mean, come on. So, I think that could result in changing things. I mean, I must admit, I think Formula One needs to change pit stops a little bit for a couple of reasons. There are way too many fucking people in that pit lane. Way too many.
Yeah.
And it's only going to take one... I mean, we've had incidents last year...
Yeah, well, we had the main incident I can remember in the pit lane in recent history without refueling were the 2013
tyre at Suzuka.
No, it wasn't Suzuka. It were Hungary. Went down pit lane and cracked the cameraman on back.
Yeah,
and you know we've got in this day and age we've got fucking drones, so. That solves your cameraman problem. Plus, I do like the one that they've got running on a wire.
Yeah.
So you can follow them going up and down the pit lane.
I want to know what's happened to your memory of Kimi Räikkönen running over his crew member last year. That's more recent memory.
But James has got a short-term memory loss problem.
Yeah. He broke his leg, didn't he?
And when he went when he shouldn't have done.
Yeah, no, that mechanic shouldn't.
Well,
the mechanic should not have had his leg in. There should never be a pit stop practice where you put your leg in front of the tyre.
No. Well, the thing is, I mean, Steve, you just said Kimi went when he shouldn't have done. Kimi was given the green light.
Yeah. True. The car went when it shouldn't have done.
He was sent when he shouldn't have been sent. But yeah, so there's too many people in the pit lane. Team members, media.
Maybe they should change it more like the NASCAR, where you're only allowed to have so many people beyond a certain... I mean, in NASCAR, you've got the wall, and you're only allowed, I think it's 5 team members
beyond that wall.
Beyond that wall.
Well, I'm thinking that what they should do, right, and this is something that if I was in charge, I really would bring this in, is I would potentially bring in a couple of things, and some people would not like this, right? One of them would be a minimum time of a pit stop. And that minimum time is for the safety of your crew, right? And there's a second part to this, and that is no crew members are allowed in the pit lane until the car is stationary. So as you drive into the pits, there's no crew members there. You've got to stop. Once you have stopped...
Yeah, as well.
Hang on. Once you have... Stop, wait, James! You can't go until I've stopped! Once the car has stopped, then one man per wheel has the wheel gun, and you can have one man for the tyres, right? Per wheel. So that's 2 men per wheel maximum. Okay, I would have hydraulic jacks built into the car, so you don't need a front jack man, you don't need a rear jack man, right?
Yeah.
So you end up with 8 crew members in the pit lane. Now the minimum time is there so that the crew members aren't running around in the pit lane. Your crew members could effectively walk.
What? Hang on, I've
They
thought of
wouldn't.
this. I've thought of this, right? You know, you've just said, right, the car's completely stationary, and then the mechanics are allowed to run out of the garage. They've got to wait behind a certain line. So all mechanics are waiting, and there's a line on floor. And
A lion?
car comes in.
Oh, no.
A line. So what they do is they kick the lion, and there's a line on floor, right? And all mechanics have got to wait behind it. When the car's stationary, as soon as it stops, they get given a signal like so they all run out into pit lane, and they all start doing the shit. But the car is not allowed to come off its jacks until all the mechanics are back over that line. So they're all doing this shit. They're changing the tires, and then they've got to run back into the. There's a button
they've got to hit as they come back, and it doesn't work until all the drivers have hit the button.
They all run over that line. As soon as they're all over that line, the driver's then given the signal that he's allowed to then drop the jacks.
Usain Bolt, now employed by Ferrari. But the thing is, though, I mean, to some people, it might sound absolutely fucking ridiculous. Now, I'm not a big fan of crew members running around in the pit lane. My concern there is someone falls over into the fast lane of the pit and gets run over. Which we've seen nearly happen numerous times with marshals. But it would reduce the amount of people in the pit lane by half. And that's, I mean, okay, you effectively, well, are you taking away someone's job? No, not really. What you'd be doing is...
What?
Oh, this is the part of the show where Vicky gets live.
Where's your bum gone? I've eaten it. No.
What do you mean?
I didn't buy any biscuits because I'm losing weight, aren't I? I'm not going to lose weight if I eat biscuits.
You were going to see to get some.
You asked for a chocolate orange and I got you a chocolate orange.
Well, ask her where a chocolate orange is.
Where's your chocolate orange?
Upstairs.
Upstairs?
Yeah.
Where?
In my room.
Do you mean the wrappers in your room? Anyway, you're live, by the way, on the podcast.
Hi, Vicky.
Just so you know.
Hello.
That's going to kick me, I didn't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Have lots of time for your podcast when you're single, won't you?
Oh. James, I think you need to put mute on and go and save your relationship.
It's alright, I've got some Savlon up here.
You need to go upstairs and get that chocolate orange. He's on his way now. So what was I saying? Yeah, so you wouldn't be getting rid of, you wouldn't be forcing people out of a job because the members of staff that do the pit stops. James, we can still hear you. What was I going to say?
Yeah. They all have other jobs anyway.
Yeah, they're all mechanics, so they're all team members that are doing the pit stops is an additional part of their current job. So it's not like you'd be putting people out of work, but it would make things so much safer. And in a pit lane like Monaco, it would make it much easier to see. It would make it much safer. I mean, it's not a little bit like. I mean, well, F1 pit lanes like Monaco are a little bit like the old Group B rally cars. You know, when the roads were lined with people and they'd stand in the middle of the road and get out of the way at the last. It's kind of like that, but just a little bit slower in the Monaco pit lane. And, I mean, I still can't believe that people used to do that, used to stand in the road.
I'm making something out of that.
Those drawers, then they can go.
What do you mean?
Those drawers can go, most definitely.
No, I'm going to make something out of them.
Yeah. A singleton's chair.
Nice to hear.
Look, Bella's wanting
A single
to play
bed.
with her.
That's what he's making out of.
I do not want to be at fault for Vicky leaving James. She'd be fully within her rights to do so, to be fair.
Sorry about that, guys.
Dave, I think we should be inviting Vicky down in June, not James.
Yeah. Well,
You hear more from Vicky than you do from me.
I invited them both. To be fair, they are both invited. But yeah. So yeah, I do think they need to change. I mean, in terms of making motorsport a little bit safer, it just seems like there's more and more people in the pit lane, and there shouldn't be more and more. There should be less and less. Now, I'm not saying that they should solve that by saying, right, let's have tyres that make the whole race, because no thanks. Boring.
I agree 100% though with the hydraulic jacks. I mean, why do we need a front jackman and a rear jackman? Just put hydraulics on it. Yeah.
I mean...
I as well, I just kind of think you've got to keep that kind of... I don't want it to be like certain American races where you've literally got like one, like F2 where you've got like one person,
one mechanic
tyre
doing all the
then it's just going to slow it all down, and it put more pressure on the mechanics, but it's not very Formula 1. Formula 1 should be all about efficiency.
It should, but excuse me,
number one priority is always safety.
Well, I wasn't going to say... Well, kind of.
I thought it were entertainment.
I thought it was win the race. What I was going to say was that when you end up in a situation where the tyres can be changed so fast, the emphasis is on let's change the tyres as fast as physically possible. You end up in a situation where cars can get released without the wheels attached properly. Or you get unsafe releases, or you get people run over in the pit lane. Human error is a big factor, whereas if you give... Okay, when it comes to refuelling, right, I mean, not just in IndyCar, but in Formula 1 in the past when they had refuelling, one of the good things, I think, about refuelling was nothing to do with the racing. It was the fact that it gave the mechanics more time to make sure the wheels were done up properly. Because they didn't have to rush, because the fuel was... Yeah, they could change a wheel in 2 seconds, but the fuel's going to take 8. So let's not do the wheel in 2 seconds. Let's do it in 5 seconds and make sure it's on fucking properly.
Yep.
There you go. Anyway, back to Monaco.
I've just thought of something.
Go on.
What they could do that is safe to slow the pit stops down a bit or make it more interesting. All right.
The driver has to get out and change the wheels himself.
No. Right. We don't want refueling. We don't want that because it's not safe in pit lanes to have all that fuel. But what about to have the Formula 1 car now has battery power? What about they recharge the batteries in the pit stop, and they've got to recharge the battery for a certain length of time, whether it be in 10 seconds or whatever, so that the battery gets a charge while they're in the pit lane. That gives them plenty of time to do the tyres.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a bit like refueling, but it's not. It's recharging the battery. Then when they come out of the pit lane, they've got more battery power.
I'd rather them just get rid of the batteries, though.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But while they're there...
Yeah, true. I mean, you look at Formula E, when that first started, I know they had minimum pit stop times, didn't they? And that was to make sure that teams and drivers didn't rush and cause problems, like drivers leaving the pit lane without their seatbelts done up properly yet. Was a major fucking issue, and rightly so.
Well, last season, they ditched the minimum pit stop window time. Yeah. And guess what happened?
An elephant crossed the pit lane.
Yep, exactly that. No, teams were rushing and drivers went out without the seatbelts done up. Mm-hmm. Even though, because there's supposed to be this mechanism where they click them in and it gives them a light to say, yes, it's engaged, and away they go, right? Yeah. They clicked them in, but they weren't clicked in fully. They'd fail as they were driving out of the pit lane. Yeah. They'd pop back out again.
Yeah. I mean...
So, yeah.
And then did the elephant come into the pit lane?
I think that's probably why they drove off quickly, because they saw an elephant.
Vicky probably thinking, what fucking podcast are you on, James?
Well, actually, to be fair,
I'm still laughing at Steve's comment of
single bed.
I'm going to be making a single bed.
To be fair, what was in the pit lane was a jaguar and a cheetah.
Ah, clever.
And a dragon.
Clever. And a virgin.
I didn't see her.
Oh. Okay, let's go back to Monaco a little bit. I can honestly say through... Well, in recent races, Mercedes have kind of sort of slowly built up to qualifying and then blown everybody away. Monaco, completely different. I wanted to make sure I watched FP1 and 2. I didn't get to see FP3, unfortunately. But you could tell straight away from FP1, the first time laps, Mercedes, they were like, right, go on guys, get on it, straight away. Because they were untouchable all through FP1, FP2. And I honestly thought as well that Bottas was going to run away with it over the weekend.
Max Verstappen wasn't he fastest in FP3?
No, Leclerc was, which makes their qualifying fuck up even worse.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, Leclerc was fastest and Vettel crashed out. And then you get to Q1 and Vettel gets through fastest and Leclerc's knocked out.
There was a reason why Leclerc was fastest there in FP3.
Go on.
And it's to do with the time of when he did his fastest lap compared to when the Mercedes did theirs.
Yeah.
Mercedes did their fastest lap run quite early on and then focused straight away on long stint pace. Max Verstappen, he had to change his floor or something like that. So he didn't get his fastest lap in quite early on either. So he did a faster lap later on. And I think... obviously Vettel fucked up.
Yeah. Something that did surprise me, though, is throughout the whole of the race, that there was only one car that didn't finish. And
Which was Leclerc's.
Leclerc, yeah. Everybody else finished. I mean, I couldn't believe there was no major crashes. It was all minor.
Was it, though, due to the fact that the pace was a lot slower than what we'd normally expect? Because Hamilton had to control his pace, that, everyone was comfortable driving within themselves almost.
Maybe.
As well, I think this is a perfect opportunity to maybe bring up my idea of the Joker lap. Like, if you had 3 uses of a Joker lap, there's no way Hamilton would have won that race.
Yeah.
It'd have forced him into another pit stop. And this is the thing, we've seen 2 years on the bounce now. And I think even Vettel once did something very similar to what Hamilton did this year, where he stayed out on a set of tyres from like lap 20.
If I remember rightly, that was when he was basically battling with Jenson Button, and Button would have beat him, but it was a red flag, which allowed Vettel to change his tyres for the last 6 laps of the race.
Yeah. And it just shows me that, it's fascinating is watching Monaco, and you can't make a mistake, and that's the challenge, right? But still, there's no... As long as you can manage your tyres, you don't have to. You might as well take your mirrors off, because there's no point in looking. The only person who needed to look in the mirrors all race was Lando Norris into the hairpin. That were it.
Yeah, but I mean,
George Russell.
Yeah, I mean, and Pierre Gasly in fucking qualifying. I've got to. I know James isn't a massive fan of Grosjean's, but I've got to say I felt for him watching the replay of his quali lap, where he comes through into Casino Square and there's a fucking Red Bull going slow, and he ended up locking up both fronts. I mean, I'm sorry, but either Gasly needs a fucking operation for eyes in the back of his fucking car.
It wasn't told by the team, though, was it?
I was about to say,
But
or his fucking engineer needs fucking bollocking.
Even so, we play on video games, and we don't have an engineer. Yeah, we have the help of a track map. But more often than not, if you're coming through a corner and you see a hint of a car coming up behind you and you're not on a fast lap, you get off the racing line.
Yeah.
What the fuck were you doing trundling on the racing line?
Yeah. And it's the same with, was it Giovinazzi on Hulkenberg, which I think it might have knocked Hulkenberg out of Q1, actually. I mean, he comes through the swimming pool section absolutely flat out, and there's a car in the middle of the road dawdling. I'm sorry, but yeah.
What are you doing right in the middle of the road? Be at least to one side.
Yeah, one side or the other, fair enough, but not in the middle of the fucking road. And I've got to admit, we've said before that these current F1 cars are big. They are long as fuck. And, I mean, they're 4 metres long, which is fucking long. I mean, you put one of these current cars next to, I don't know, Senna's car from when he won at Donington in the wet, and there's another metre or so in length, easily. And then you've got that they're 2 metres wide. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that they've got big, fat, wide tyres on, and they should have big, fat, wide tyres, but that doesn't mean they need to be so spread far apart.
As well, I used to collect 1/18 scale Formula 1 cars, and I had Lewis Hamilton's every single year from 2007. I think I stopped collecting them.
When you met Vicky.
Yeah. I stopped collecting them when it got to...
When he found out what sex was, the toys went out the window. They were replaced by new toys.
No. 2014, when he won his title in the Mercedes-Benz, the second one, I'd stopped collecting them from that point.
Yeah.
And the reason why I stopped collecting them from that point were because I had like I didn't really have a huge cabinet, which is what I'm trying to build now. So I had like these 1/18 scale little perspex boxes display boxes to put them in, so I could put them on a shelf. And they just got to a point where the front and back of the cars were touching the plastic. So the cars were just getting too big for the 1/18 scale boxes.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, I'm not going out of my way to buy extra expensive boxes just to fit these cars in. So stop collecting them from that point. And I'm really glad that I did, actually, because from a couple of years ago when they put the fat wide tyres on, there's no way you'd fit them in at all. They wouldn't be able to move. And I remember looking at the 2007 McLaren and looking at the 2015 Mercedes-Benz, and it's like a bloody limo next to a little Morris Minor. They're absolutely so long. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Especially I think it was a McLaren 2010, where the regulations where it was the first year without.
Noses.
No.
Right.
It was the first year without refueling. It was the one where they had that little F duct at the front.
Yeah.
And that was so long. Absolutely huge. And I was just like, fucking hell. Literally, I bet you, if I can get a picture of the two cars side by side, you'd be like, bloody hell. You cannot imagine how much longer the cars were from just the regulation change of the refueling to non-refueling. It's just mental. And now with the width, it's just, fuck me.
It's a shame that Donington F1 museum's closed down, because after being around there a few times, you do get to understand the perspective of the size of the cars. Because they had some Senna McLarens in there in the past, and obviously quite a few of them more modern Formula 1 cars. And there is a definite size difference when you stand near them.
Well, they had one of Senna's McLarens next to near Lewis Hamilton's championship-winning McLaren, didn't they? And that Lewis Hamilton's McLaren was fucking enormous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I do think the cars are getting too big. They really are. I mean, I know the front wheels, they're kind of dictated on where they go. They've got to be ahead of the driver's feet, no problem. But it doesn't, I mean, especially when you look at how much of the rear end of the car is actually nothing. They could change that. They really could do so much better with that. But anyway, I reckon we have a look at how we got on with the predictions, unless there's anything else specific from the race that you guys want to mention. I mean, we haven't gone into a whole lot of info. Actually, something I will mention to you. Last year, we gave Honda a hell of a lot of shit with Hando. But to be fair, they're doing all right now with Red Bull and with Toro Rosso. Alexander Albon was fucking brilliant all the way through practice and qualifying, and 4 Honda engine cars, or should I say all 4 Honda engine cars, finished in the top 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good going, that.
I just don't understand what the fuck Renault are doing. When you see how well Honda's doing, yeah, they're in a better chassis, but even the difference between you could certainly see a remarkable difference between the last year Honda was in the McLaren and the first year of it being in the Toro Rosso was a remarkable difference.
Yeah.
Because you would automatically in your head put a Toro Rosso chassis below a McLaren any day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So for it to perform better, that's told me that they certainly found something to do with power.
Yeah. Well, they
Mode 7.
Yeah, well, I mean, they brought a newer Honda engine in, didn't they, with Gasly last year, late on towards the end of the season, which was a massive step up. But yeah, I mean, Honda are getting their act together. And to be fair, when you've got drivers like Danny Kvyat, who all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what, he's doing all right, he is, then something's fucking wrong. I mean, not being daft, I mean, we'd never really heard of Alexander Albon, and when we look at, okay, this is the Monaco Grand Prix, probably one of the most important in the calendar, and who was Danny Kvyat and Alexander Albon beaten in this race? You got Danny Ricciardo, Grosjean, Norris, Perez, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Russell, Stroll, Raikkonen, Kubica, and Giovinazzi. Now, there's at least half of those drivers that you would just say, well, on name alone, they should have beaten the likes of Alexander Albon and Danny Kvyat, but their car's not good enough.
Yeah.
And that's up against a Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
Obviously, the boost in power they got was that engine we sold them last year.
Yeah.
The Torpedo.
But it's just... I just really look at Renault and I just scratch my head and think, what the hell are they doing?
Well, the thing is, I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't think I would panic too much, right? Especially now, with what's happened with McLaren over the last few years, right? Because we were saying pretty much exactly the same thing about Honda and McLaren, right? But Honda have got their act together. Renault, I mean, they're in it for the long haul, right? Which means they're not looking to win races this year. They're looking to win races next year and the year after. So for them to take some pain now, if it helps them in the future, I can understand that. And when you consider that, I mean, okay, Formula One has lost Niki Lauda, right? And so have Mercedes. But Renault do have Prost, and whether you love him or hate him, I'm not a fan. He was called the Professor for a reason. He would do what was necessary to succeed. He wouldn't go beyond that. He'd do what was necessary and no more. Apart from when he crashed into Senna. But he wouldn't take...
That was necessary.
Oh yeah, it was. He wouldn't take risks that came with too much of a risk. So I think if he's got an influence on Renault, like it would appear he has, I can imagine that he would be saying, well, look, we don't need to be blowing our engines up to try and win races at the moment, or panicking that we're not scoring points at the moment. Let's learn, let's improve, let's take a time, let's do things right. I mean, you look at Ferrari, right? The car is actually very fucking good. It's the fastest on the grid on a straight. In the corners, it's not the best. And they are talking about, okay, they might have gone down the wrong route with the design of the car. So, but their car's not actually too bad, right? They're working. How they work, how they function is wrong, right? That is potentially an even bigger problem to fix than having a car that doesn't work properly. Because you look at Mercedes, right? Mercedes, they function, they work. So if they've had the best car, or as it's been in the last couple of years, not the best car, they're still able to succeed because the way they work helps them. You look at Williams, though, their car's shit, and so is the way they work. So they're fucked, right?
Yeah.
Renault, I can see them being in that route of, well, look, we know the car's not right yet, but let's focus on the working. Let's focus on that. Because when you look at it, we're not seeing stories of Renault fucking up pit stops or Renault getting strategies wrong, really.
Renault need to sort all this out. Fredo.
Oh, no.
See, he's a spare. They could get, it was that bloke, Bob Fernley. He's on the market.
He's available now, isn't he? Yeah, you might have to go looking for steering wheels. But I've got to say, right, in all fairness to McLaren and to Zach Brown, right, for him to go into the commentary box in an FP1 session and just lay it on the line, that he gets respect for me from that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had a part of him that was like, kind of like
I don't want to do this.
Well, no, I was going to say a Niki Lauda moment of, well, why should we feed him a load of bullshit? Let's just tell him the fucking truth.
Yeah.
Lauda would tell him the truth. And I admire him for standing for. I mean, he told a little more of the story about the steering wheel, which, having heard the full story, it's a bit of an interesting one. In that they did have a steering wheel. They decided to make their own steering wheel, but that's where the problem came from using metric and imperial. So instead of somebody measuring it in inches, they measured it in centimetres. So, I mean, a bit of a difference that if you go, the steering wheel needs to be 12 inches across and 6 inches high, and you get something back that's 12 centimetres across and 6 centimetres high. It's like, I'm not sure this is going to fit. But yeah, so, I mean, there's been major fuck-ups in that. But, like I say, fair play to him for coming out and just going, well, look, here it is, here's the truth. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I think... I mean, I did like Carlos Sainz's move at the start, going around the outside of... I'm trying to remember what the frig the corner's called, but...
Lowe's Hairpin, Mirabeau.
The one before Casino Square, the left-hander.
Oh, yeah, Massenet.
Yeah. He went round the outside of the Toro Rosso in that, and that were a very nice move.
Yeah. I mean, I found the race quite exciting, really. As far as Monaco Grand Prix go, I mean, I would have liked to have seen it rain, because I think that would have neutralised Mercedes a bit more, would have neutralised Ferrari a bit more, could have helped Verstappen a bit more, maybe the Renaults. But I've got to say, I mean, it's not that often you have a Monaco Grand Prix where there's not a lot of cars into the barriers. But there we go. Right, shall we see how we got on with our predictions?
Do we have to? I know, it's fucking Steve's going to win this.
I honestly have no idea. what would gave us predictions. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Oh, so Steve said that. Oh, fuck's sake! Steve said that Hamilton would be on pole position.
Well done.
Yeah. And me and James said it'd be Max Verstappen.
How are you getting on, James, on Battlefield?
I'm not on there anymore. I'm on the Star Wars one, but I'm annoyed because
Steve scored points.
I think I also said that Max Verstappen were going to win, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, Steve said that it'd be Hamilton, so Steve gets the point. I said it'd be Bottas for the win. James did say it'd be Verstappen, so Steve's already 2 points ahead of us. Okay, podium. Steve said it'd be Hamilton.
Yay.
Verstappen. But with Bottas ahead of Verstappen.
Yeah.
So it's still 3 points, 2 for Hamilton. No, hang on, no. Verstappen didn't finish on the podium, did he? Bottas did.
No, Bottas did.
So it's 3 points, 2 for Hamilton, 1 for Bottas. James, you said Hamilton, Vettel,
Ooh.
Verstappen,
No.
but in the opposite order, so it's only 2 points. Because you said Verstappen, Vettel, and Hamilton, so it's a point for Vettel and a point for Hamilton.
No, Vettel got second, so that was 2 points.
Oh, so it's 3 points for James. Fucking hell.
Nice one.
Yeah. I said Bottas, Hamilton, and Verstappen, so I only get 2 points, 1 for Bottas, 1 for Hamilton. Okay, first to crash out over the weekend and first to crash out in the race. Who was first to crash out over the weekend?
Technically,
Vettel.
no one.
No, Vettel did in FP3, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, straight into the wall, yeah. That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah.
Okay.
FP3 straight into the wall.
Well, none of us said Vettel. Steve went with Russell. James said Grosjean. And I said it'd be Strong. There was only one person that didn't finish the race, and it was Leclerc, and he retired. He didn't crash out, although he did crash a lot. And none of us said Leclerc anyway, so we all score. There's big fat zeros there. Steve said it'd be Giovinazzi. James went with Grosjean, and I said it'd be Hulkenberg.
The amount of times I normally go with no one will crash out, and I thought, I won't say that for Monaco, because somebody will crash out.
Yeah. Okay, the next one was Dick of the Day. So who would we...
Ooh.
This is where we obviously have to work out
Ferrari.
who we would give Dick of the Day to. James, you do not want to say that because you might end up giving Steve a point. Who would you give Dick of the Day to?
Well, I'll give it to Vettel, and I'll tell you why.
Because you picked him.
Yeah.
Go on, tell us why.
Nah, it's more to do with the qualifying, because he was the one that fucked up in qualifying and put it in the wall.
Nah,
He got
everything he could out of that Ferrari.
Yeah.
After he hit the wall.
He hit the wall. He hit the wall in FP3 though, didn't he?
Yeah, but that was FP3, not qualifying.
When did he hit the wall in qualifying?
In swimming, sorry.
You can't give him Dick of the Day for tapping the wall in the swimming pool.
I've got to think of something.
Yeah, well, keep thinking.
Hang on, no, there was twice. There was the swimming pool and there was the exit of Tabac.
The thing is, though, Steve, yeah, right, okay, I could give you that, but that was on Saturday, and we're talking about Dick of the day being Sunday, race day, so that puts...
But Monaco, the most important day is the Saturday. That's the day around Monaco.
But the points are given on a Sunday. It ain't getting to be Vettel, is it, James?
Nah, no way.
No chance.
Vettel didn't put a foot wrong all race.
To be fair, I mean, you're right. Vettel didn't. I think he knew he could not beat the Mercedes, and with having Verstappen ahead of him, there's no point getting in that fight. He did the right thing. Let Verstappen attack Hamilton. They both might crash out, or at worst case scenario,
Scenario,
yeah. Hamilton's tyres go off and Verstappen's got a penalty, so he could end up winning the race.
All right, realistically now then, Giovinazzi for spinning Russell.
Oh, yeah, that was a dodgy fucking move, wasn't it? He didn't even leave the door open for the move.
Or Grosjean for going over the pit exit line. Stupid penalty, unnecessary.
Did Magnussen do anything stupid this week?
Drove the car.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I'm struggling. I think I'd probably have to give it Giovinazzi for spinning Russell, like I said. No, I'm sorry, no. Dick of the day.
Is that because James has said Giovinazzi?
No, it's not. No, Dick of the day, unfortunately. I'd give it to Charles Leclerc for losing his head.
No, I wouldn't say he lost his
I don't
head.
think it's his fault.
I think he said before the race started, I'm either going to crash.
Yeah, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, I'm either going to overtake a lot of cars or I'm going to crash.
And he did neither.
Actually, bringing that to Charles Leclerc is something that I was thinking about this while watching the race, and I'm pretty sure a few years ago Martin Brundle mentioned during a Monaco Grand Prix that if you've got a damaged car, you are not supposed to drive into the tunnel.
But who specifies how damaged your car has to be?
If you've got a car that could lose parts, all right, or
how do you know that sat in your cockpit? What
doesn't matter.
You might not be able to, what? How do you know?
Was his car 100% intact? No, but
yeah,
that's not my point. That's not my point, right? But the thing is, was his car going to stop in the tunnel? Probably not. But in a race situation, he's going slow through the tunnel, and you've got cars at full speed, even though there's yellow flags. They're still going past him though, even though there's yellow flags, because he's the slow car. He's the hazard. You're not supposed to go into a tunnel, as far as my understanding is, in that situation, because of how much of a hazard it is within the tunnel. Because they would not want a crash in that tunnel because of getting emergency vehicles to it quickly.
Given what happened in Baku. Hey, did you notice as well that, I don't know if you saw this, in the Indy 500 qualifying session, it wasn't a qualifying session, in the practice days beforehand, when Alonso crashed his car, the truck with the crane on, bringing his car back to the pits, hit a bridge. Just like in Baku. Anyway, right, okay, so, just slight random. Dick of the day then, come on, who are we giving it to?
I have to say Ferrari as a whole team. They were just fucking idiots.
So I can't say we can give it to a team because it's not Dick's of the day, and I think I'd have to go with Steve's opinion of Giovinazzi. Stupid move in a stupid position, never going to make it, never going to gain, and effectively kind of fucked up 4 people's races in that one. Right, okay, now we go on to the last prediction that we made, and this is going to test your memories a little bit. The last prediction was who is going to be hitting the swimming pool where Verstappen crashed last year in qualifying.
Oh, nobody did.
I think you're absolutely right, which means we all get a big fat 0 points. You know what, right? Because we get 0 points there. If you can remember who you gave us the prediction for that, I'll give you a point.
I didn't say Verstappen, did I? I don't think I did. I'll say I can't remember. I really can't remember.
I reckon I said Verstappen.
But Dave, you've got an advantage here because you've got your notes, so you know.
Yeah, I know. So if you get it wrong, I get a bonus point. No, I wouldn't take the bonus. I'm giving you the opportunity of getting a free bonus point here.
Right. Um,
Why does it sound like you're skipping through a video?
no. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue who I said.
Well, maybe you need to take a walk and see if you can remember.
Stroll.
It was Stroll.
Stroll.
Yeah, James says Stroll.
Woo.
Well, you're not getting the point now, though. Steve said it'd be Gasly, and I said it was Ricardo, and yeah, it was no one. So, as far as the predictions go, I got 2 points this week. James got 3 points this week. And Steve carries on his trend with 5 points.
Fucking hell. He's just running off again.
And what that means is that, James, you are on 16 points. I am on 17 points. And Steve is on 34 points.
Let's just not bother playing this game because it's clear that Steve's going to win.
Well, you say that, but look at it this way. We're only 6 races in, right? There's another 15 races to go. And he's got more points than us combined, but that's in 6 races. In the next 6 races, that could turn on its head.
But I doubt it.
I doubt it as well, but there we go. Right.
In terms of the Monaco Grand Prix as a whole, I just think it really does need something. Because there's been too many years now where there's somebody been leading the race. Yeah, they're there on merit, but they shouldn't have won the race. And yeah, it's fantastic that they can hold on to shit tyres and get to the end of the race. But they do that every single race because the tyres are shit all the time. So it's not a massive, oh wow, they've held on to them tyres because they hold on to shit tyres all the time because Pirelli is shit. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get that. I don't have that. I used to love watching Monaco because I used to be like, well, you know, it's all about who makes a mistake. And I'm not saying that it's too easy, but I think it is a bit too. It's too easy for the drivers. Like, there's no. Like, if you think of the old. I'm thinking of like an old Cosworth powered Formula One car where there's tons of power and kind of like fighting the steering wheel, trying to keep it in a straight line because there's so much power. Whereas now it's just kind of like, oh, well, as long as I can just look after my tyres, I'll be all right. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not fascinated by Formula One recently. It's really getting me down.
Well, I reckon we wait and see what happens in Canada, because at Canada, I mean, that's a track that Ferrari will be mightily fast on the straights, but the straights are ended with slow corners, and they're shit in the slow corners.
But not only that, they start from slow corners as well.
Yeah.
There's more slow corners than there are straights.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes run away with it. Red Bull, they ain't got open now.
Well, let's do our predictions for that, and then if we don't get on to do the pre-show podcast, we've done them.
Okay.
Because I've got a, like we do the suggested additional predictions.
Yeah.
What about this one? Instead of Dick of the Day, Team Dick of the Day. So James can get to pick a team dick. a dick team.
A gangbang Dick of the Day.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, we'll get to that in a moment then. For anyone that's watching now, if you've got anything that you would like us to make a prediction on for the Canadian Grand Prix, now is the time to get it in on the chat while we go through our first 4. So we are going to have another prediction we're going to need. So then, Steve, who do you think is going to take pole position?
Hamilton.
Okay. James, who do you think is going to take pole position?
Hamilton.
He's going to copy me. I think in this meeting you should ask James first.
No. You're leading. You go first. I'm going to go with Hamilton. No, I'm not. I'm going to go Leclerc.
Who's Claire?
She owns the Williams. Charlie Leclerc. Okay, Steve, who is going to be your podium 3?
Hamilton in first, Bottas in second, Leclerc third.
James, do I just copy and paste his?
Yeah. Go on.
He doesn't want to think about it while he's playing his game.
No, I'll say Hamilton.
Bottas and Leclerc.
I'll say Hamilton. Bottas, Vettel.
Okay. I'm going to go with Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc.
That's the same as me.
No, it's not.
What did you just say then?
Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc.
All right, okay. No Hamilton.
No Hamilton. Right. Cock. I've put them in the wrong boxes. Right, while I'm sorting this out, guys, we're going to need you to think about who you are going to have as your race winner, but I'm guessing I already know them for if it's going to be the same as your podium 3.
Hamilton.
I'll just mix it up. I'll say Leclerc just in case.
Edging his bets, nothing wrong with that. I am going to go with... I'm going to say Bottas. I'm going to go for the full house. Okay, first to crash out in the race.
Nobody.
Okay, James.
Albon.
Ooh, that one's a bit left field. I'm going to go with... Oh, who am I going to go with? I'm going to go for Verstappen. Okay, Steve, so you wanted... well, before I do actually confirm these, let's see... who will be the first to crash at the Wall of Champions? Could do that, but yeah.
I think we've done who's going to be first to crash, and if there's going to be a crash, that's where it'll probably be.
Yeah. Dave the Op saying F1 has never been the same since Nicky died. Not wrong there.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
No. Okay, so team Dick of the Day. Steve, who are you going for?
Well, statistically speaking, it should be Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stick with that and go Ferrari.
Okay. James.
Dick of the Day.
Team Dick of the Day.
Team Dick of the Day.
Oh, Team Dick of the Day. Ferrari, always.
Okay.
Fuck it. Red Bull.
Ferrari, always. Red Bull. Now, you see, I'm thinking, if I say Ferrari, it won't be Ferrari.
That's what I was thinking.
So you know what? I'm going to say Ferrari. Right, this is tactical, this, James. I'm going to say Ferrari so that it isn't Ferrari, and then Steve can't get the point for it.
He's going to get points. He's always getting points. He's going to win. Don't try and tease yourself that you're going to win. You're not going to win. Steve's going to win.
All right, then. Predictor Dick of the Day, Steve. Right, we need one more prediction. One more prediction to make.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. What about who will be the last finishing car?
Oh. Last to finish. We'll do that. Oh, hang on, no, it's only going to be between two people, innit?
Not necessarily. They might not get to the end.
I know. Right. Last driver to finish ahead of Russell and Kubica. So.
What if there's one between them?
Good point.
All right, last to finish, not including the Williams.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Last to finish. Not Williams. Right then, Steve. Who are you going for?
Hulkenberg.
Ooh. James.
Last to finish. I'm gonna go. Kubica.
He's in a Williams.
He wasn't listening, was he? I knew that it was going to happen.
What? Last to finish, it's got to be Kubica.
Last to finish, but not the Williams.
Oh, I didn't hear that bit. Last to finish, but not the Williams. Right. Homeboy Stroll.
That's what I was going to say.
So I don't think it. Well, I'll wait for Dave to say his.
You know, I'm gonna go tactical here. I'm gonna think about this for a moment. Bear with me a second. Ooh, who should I go for? Let's see. Okay, yeah, Giovinazzi.
So I don't think it will be. It's gonna have to be a Renault-powered car.
Now,
That's why I see it.
I'm going to go with Giovinazzi. He finished last in the last race, so I'm going to go with him finishing last ahead of the Williams in the last race. I know
he had a big penalty though.
He didn't have a big penalty. He had a 10-second penalty. It's not a big penalty, is it?
No, but it was also stationary for a long time because of the incident.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm going with it. I'm going to go Giovinazzi.
That's fine. That's fine. You go with it. He's only got the fastest engine in a straight line on a fast track.
Yeah, but he's shit, so that counts as it, doesn't it?
He might not finish then.
Yeah, that's true. He might be the first to crash out. Okay, that's predictions for Canada done then. Canada being in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
Can I just
Is that tractor? I just heard a tractor.
No, it's a safety car. Can I just say a bit more about what I've been thinking about for the perfect Formula One car? I know I've been saying about having a situation where you've got a DIS rather than a DRS.
All right, yeah, your drag increase system.
Yeah. But I was thinking, right, one thing that kind of pissed me off it has pissed me off a lot for the majority of years I've watched Formula One, where in the past, if you saw a Formula One car, it mainly was if you get a bit side by side, there's going to be carbon fibre flying everywhere. What about situations where creating a Formula One car so that if there's wheel-to-wheel contact, the worst thing that can happen is a puncture can happen. But even so, when we saw the puncture happen with Charles Leclerc, obviously Formula One cars are not, they are technically open-wheel cars. But they may as well not be, because if you get a puncture, you're ripping half your car up if you go too quick. And all the floor was just disintegrated. All the parts of carbon fibre are flying everywhere. Why not create cars where you're not allowed a flaw?
The driver will fall out.
No. You're not allowed what is now the floor platform for all the aerodynamic parts.
I know what you mean. I thought the same, right? Because my thought process.
No exposed floor.
Yeah,
Yes.
my thought process went like this, right? Oh, Leclerc's got a puncture. Oh, he needs to slow down. He's not slowing down. Oh, I know why. Because if he causes a bit of damage, carbon fibre on the track, he's going to get a safety car, right? That might not have been his thinking, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is some teams' thinking. And it did make me think. It's like, I know I've said it before, like I prefer the older cars where your side pod, like, went out from the side of the driver's head, not physically, but you know where the side pod goes out, and it goes down to the floor. Not goes down, curves under, and the cars are dead skinny, but there's a really wide floor. No. So yeah, what Steve said describes it correctly, which is no exposed floor. And I think that's right, because at least then if you do get a puncture, you're not ripping your car to bits.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
But also think about the lack or the amount of aero that they would miss from having less floor.
Yeah.
That surely would make the cars a lot more interesting to drive or difficult, which is probably what we're wanting.
Yeah.
To see.
I mean, I think I'd personally go down the route of enforcing the shape of the car is not a curved side pod like they have, but it is a side pod that goes straight down to the floor pretty much. I mean, it wouldn't have to be dead straight. You could have a bit of curvature to it, but not like they've got now. So a little bit like if you imagine that the sides of the actual car almost matched the full width of the car between the wheels, if you know what I mean.
So instead of having the Coke bottle shape, it would be a box shape.
Kind of, yeah. Or like a Jack Daniels shape, Jack Daniels bottle shape.
Yeah.
But that's something that would then give you a bigger floor where you could then you'd be able to look at things like ground effects. I mean, ground effects is such a simple fucking system.
They still use ground effects, but in a different way. Because the way the floor is developed now is it sucks air off the front wing round the side of the car and then shoots it through the veins in the floor that's exposed downwards to trap air underneath the car. So they've got instead of having skirts on the side of the car, they've got air being shot downwards through the floor, and that is what's creating the ground effect. So they are getting ground effects, but without having to have the skirts on.
Yeah, but they could get rid of all that carbon fibre and just have the skirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as well, I know that I have mentioned this drag increase system, right? And I think Steve's been a bit like, well, I don't know.
I like it. I just don't like the idea of it being called a diss or a drag increase.
You could come up.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's more of a aero increase system rather than a drag increase.
I'd call it the drag increase connection.
A dick.
Jesus just got.
Yeah, but
I'm activating my dick.
I've increased my dick.
I need a bigger dick angle.
Press the toggle knob. Switch it to dick.
I need to get more dick.
I ain't got enough dick through the car.
I need more dick. My rear end's loose.
I need to get up his rear a bit more because I need more dick.
I'm gonna wet myself. I'm like a 5-year-old boy.
Oh dear.
But yeah, the parts that would move on the car, so like the aerodynamic panels that would like
extend.
Yeah, extend. We could have that. Yeah.
Sorry, I've just had a very short train of thought go. What would happen if other teams decided to make this dick thing? You'd end up with hand or dick.
as well, right? So, as well, on top of this, right? What I'm thinking is you have the parts that'll move and anywhere near the wheels. So,
I was just thinking, actually, instead of them extending, they would erect.
Yeah, they'd erect, yeah. So they'd erect up, and then on a straight, they'd go flaccid, right? So they could go quicker in a straight line.
And if they don't work, it'd be, I'm struggling with my erection.
It could be sponsored by Blue Pills. But all I'm thinking is, in qualifying, you have your dick engaged all the way through the lap. So the car, for example, with
But then you
way
wouldn't,
too
you wouldn't
much,
want it on the straights, would you?
you won't want it on the straights, but it's always got to be engaged in qualifying. So you might end up with a bit of a weird grid, but it'd force it. You'd want the best aerodynamic platform so that through the corners you could come through the field with your dick.
Come through the field with his dick.
So you come through the field with your dick, but you might end up, the fastest cars might be a bit like reverse grid, only a natural way of doing a reverse grid, so that the cars that would be naturally... The problem you've got at the moment is you've got cars that are basically qualifying cars, and then they go racing with them. But they don't really go racing with them because they can't race them. So what
They
you
just
end
have
up
to
with...
survive.
So what you end up with is a shit race. So rather than having that, what you try and create is you don't get points on qualifying, but
They don't.
you want the best car for the race, and the best car for the race is a car that can overtake. So let's say, for example, you're in a Red Bull. You qualify at the back.
Has he got a big dick?
Because it's got a massive dick, right? It's got a massive dick, so that on a straight, around Monaco, you might end up on pole because there's so many tight, twisty corners. But you're at Monaco, you're in a Red Bull, you're going to qualify at the back. But on a straight, your dick's going to be disengaged, but in a corner, when you get within 1 second of the car in front, you can engage your dick wherever you want. So through a corner, you can be quicker. And you can, like, out of the final corner, you can slingshot out of the final corner onto the straight, disengage, and then you overtake. So what you end up doing is creating better racing by the cars with the more downforce, with the extended dick, end up qualifying further back because they've got too much drag.
I mean, okay.
But it creates a better qualifying car.
Yeah, I just want to just clarify something. For anyone that is listening now having no idea what it is that James is going on about, basically what he's talking about is his idea of binning.
Yeah, you're like C-3PO, I'm like R2-D2. I'm just giving you the idea. I'm useless at talking, but you translate it for those people out there.
Yeah, get me dick out your mouth and we'll be all right. Sound like Sylvester Stallone.
What?
Oh, James. Right. What James is on about is binning DRS, and instead of having a drag reduction system, you have a drag increase system. So when you're following a car around corners and you're within a second of that car, you can increase the amount of downforce you have so that you can stay close in the corners. Because you lose downforce following a car because of the dirty air. So by adding in more instant downforce, you don't get naturally or effectively more downforce than you ever had. You bring it back to having a level amount of downforce that you've
And this
lost.
can be on front wing as well as rear wing. It doesn't have to just be
anywhere. It could be everything. It just goes... Like if you've got a Red Bull, 1 million panels just go, and like the
back of an airplane wing.
Yeah,
the flaps.
all the flaps go, and you're like, whoa, fucking hell. And it would look fantastic as well. Like, it might... But
it'd be... If you... I mean, okay... I would have gone perhaps more just front wing and rear wing, but if you could have multiple flaps, right, for your dick, then at least then it would be a visual aid for viewers to go.
Of course it would.
He's got his dick activated.
He's engaged his dick.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look at the size of it. But then, as well, on a straight, it'd be a natural overtake then.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see breeze past where, oh, look at that over. You got Crofty going, oh, what an amazing overtake. And it's like, yeah, but it's still another 400 metres to the apex.
Yeah.
It's not an amazing overtake. It's just press the button and the car's done the work.
Yeah. I mean, now some people may look at the Monaco Grand Prix and go, well, Verstappen followed Hamilton easy enough. Yeah, but Hamilton was going 3 seconds a lap slower than his race pace. That's why Verstappen could easily follow, because Verstappen was also going 3 seconds a lap slower than his race pace.
Did you hear about how George Russell got excited?
Yeah.
He was told he was doing the same pace as the leaders.
Yeah. He was very happy about that. But I mean, that does go to show that. I mean, that was how slow they were going. But yeah, I mean, I can understand it though from a car designer's point of view, right? For a team, right? Your mandate isn't going to be, let's give us the best car to overtake with. It's give me the fastest fucking car, and also make that car create so much dirty air that no one can get fucking near us.
But on the reverse of that, let's say, for example, you've got when the drag increase system is disengaged, you've got such a reduction in a massive reduction in downforce. Like literally, you've got a car that resembles Senna's 1988 McLaren. Senna's late 80s, early 90s McLaren, where it looks very basic, very simple. The front wings are very basic. But then in the corners, when you engage your increase, it literally just goes apeshit. It just like completely changes the way it looks.
So I mean, for anyone that did watch the Indy 500 over the weekend, I mean, the wings they used there, it was literally one piece front wing, one piece rear wing, and there was literally no angle to it. I mean, they increased downforce on the rear by adding a gurney flap onto the top of the wing, right? And they could add bits onto it.
Like the bigger the gurney flap, the more aero you'd have.
Yeah. But, I mean, you compare that to an Indy car on a road course, those wings are massive. So you could kind of say, like, well, when it's not engaged, it's like the Indy 500, but when it is engaged, it's like the Indy road car. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm meaning, where the aerodynamic parts can just completely change.
So basically, what you're wanting to create is Transformers.
A little bit, yeah. But remove your floor sections of aerodynamic parts that are just basically like a big cheese grater. Get rid of all that, and so what I want is a situation where if your front tyre blows up and ripples round, you don't rip up your front wing. The problem with the width of the front wings now, if you've got a puncture on the front, you're ripping your front wing off. You get a puncture on the back, you're ripping your floor up. Or potentially your rear wing as well.
Yeah.
And it's like... I just kind of think to myself, there needs to be a set of regulations where if you get a puncture, you're not out of the race.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if you're Fernando Alonso, you can have 2 punctures and get back to the pits.
3.
Well, 3 punctures and get back to the pits with minimal damage to your florals and your wings. But anyway.
But yeah, I do think it is a pretty cool concept, and the thing that makes the teams nowadays get quite annoyed is when they say, "Oh, well, we want a massive reduction in downforce." Teams like Red Bull, which are basically based on the most downforce efficient cars, they go, "Oh, well, we'll pull out because we want aerodynamics." But you'd have the best of both worlds then.
Yeah, I mean,
because you'd have the most sleek, slipstreamy car you can think of, and that would resemble like like every other spec series where they all look the same. So all the Formula 1 cars would look exactly the same when they're not engaged their aero parts. But when they engage the aero parts, that's down to the team at that point to come up with whatever they want to do.
You know what you should do, James? You should send a link of this video, right, to Ross Brawn.
I don't have his address.
I'm sure you can find him on Twitter.
It to you afterwards.
I'm sure you can find him on Twitter.
If I send it to Jean Todd, he might be able to get his assistant to print out the Twitter page.
You know what?
They might print out a transcript to this podcast.
The thing is, right, over the course of us doing this podcast, we've discussed stuff and then it has miraculously happened in Formula 1. So if at Canada they start talking about a drag increase system...
Or a dick.
or a dick.
Engage the dick for your flaps.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I mean, that's just one thing that I've thought of. Imagine everything else I can think of.
Oh, gee, yeah, that worries me. But, I mean, what I would say is, I mean, when you look at the F1 engineers, they know what they're doing because the rule regulation changes that came in for this year were supposed to kind of slow the cars down a bit, but they're going faster at every track.
Yeah, exactly. But as well, another thing that I was thinking is, I have already mentioned it, but we've got the situation where obviously the fastest cars qualify at the front and they pull away.
Yeah.
And the slowest cars start at the back and they go backwards, like the Williams. But it'd create a situation where a car like a Williams, because it's potentially not got the greatest downforce, if, for example, a Williams turned up at Monaco, it could potentially get pole position because it'd have least. If you look at what the teams have got this year, the Williams has got the least amount of downforce. But the teams like Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, they'd be handicapped at a racetrack like Monza. They do really well at a track like Monaco, but a track like Monza where you've got massive long straights, because they've got to engage all their aero parts, they probably end up with the Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari starting nearer the back and a team like a Williams starting more near the front because they've been able to go quicker on the straights.
Yeah.
I think the qualifying area, you would create a car that would be a fantastic race car, whereas the regulations we've got at the moment, you create a fantastic qualifying car and just deal with what you've got.
I mean, you mentioned about regulations there. There seems to be a few, like, I think there might be people watching the stream perhaps at different times, because we've got Steve F1 talking about the museum, and McLaren binning off Honda for Renault were idiots. And then you've also got Dave the Art going on about you can't blame the cars, it's the regulations that need a revamp. And Drew saying, no, bro, Renault know how to win championships. So they may be watching at different times, but one of the things that Dave said there is about the regulations need a revamp, and I think he's right. Because what I was about to say to you, James, there's one thing that stops your idea before it can even get going.
The teams.
No, but the teams would like it. They'd be like, yeah.
No, it's not the teams. It is one regulation that states you are not allowed any movable aerodynamic devices.
But
Fuck it, scrap that.
Yeah, but you just scrap that. and you're not allowed any movable aerodynamic devices.
But you've got
if
DRS.
If you are not within a second of the car in front.
Yeah.
Once you are within a second of the car in front, you are then allowed to use your movable aerodynamic devices. So it's not completely getting rid of that rule, but it's just amending that rule.
Yeah, because like you say, we do have movable aero devices now with the DRS.
Yeah.
Right, go on.
But yeah, I just think it's been putting a band-aid over a bullet wound, right, as DRS. And it's been introduced since 2011. And would you say the racing
it's not better.
Would you say the racing in 2010 was better than the racing you're getting this year? I don't think there's any difference.
No.
So therefore, it hasn't worked. So go back to the drawing board. But don't throw the baby out with bathwater. Just come at it from a different angle with your dick.
Yeah. Knock on the back door instead. Anyway, right, I think it's about time we bring this one to an end, guys. We've gone over 2 hours for the first time in ages.
I've had a request from Holly, my daughter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. She's asked me to ask James if he can do a Tiny Tim voice.
Tiny Tim? I'm trying to even think who Tiny Tim is. What
the
does
guy
he
that
do?
did the face mask.
Oh, yeah, no. I can't get that high. I can't get that high.
She wants you to at least try. You've got to do it for my daughter.
What does he say?
Whatever you want him to say.
He tried buying a Lamborghini once.
I'm 3 coming on 6.
That sounds wrong.
Hiya. Hello, who are you? My name's Tim. How old are you, Tim?
Dunno.
What do you mean you don't know?
I had a birthday. I think I had 4 candles.
I was going to say, how many candles did you blow out?
But I don't know, because my dad blew some out, so I can't remember.
I thought you didn't know who your dad was.
I do.
You do? What's his name?
Barry.
Barry.
He went to prison.
What did he go to prison for?
He shot my mum in the head.
Was it for having a squeaky voice?
No. He didn't have his dinner ready when he got home from work.
I'm waiting for Vicky to come in going, what the fuck are you doing?
Why are you laughing at me?
Because you're funny. Do you like racing cars, Tim?
Yeah.
Which is your favourite one?
Blue ones.
So she just made me think of your mate from work. Yeah, that red one's good.
I like blue ones. But there's no blue cars, is there?
There is, yeah, there is.
Is there?
Yeah, it's called a Red Bull.
Oh, I thought it were.
Why is a Red Bull blue?
It's not blue enough for me. I like light blue. It's dark blue. Hey, why are you laughing at me?
Because I've just heard that you are Williams' new reserve driver. Because you like light blue, yeah? Yeah, all you need to do is show that you've got less of a unibrow than Lance Stroll.
Yeah, my mum were called Claire.
Was she full of shit as well?
Well, I don't know, she got her head blown off.
It's taken a dark turn.
Anyway, I think we'll call it a night there.
You know what? You know what, James? Right. Next time you play Battlefield, right, you're gonna have to record it on your PlayStation. Don't be in the chat pod. Just be on your microphone, going, "Hello, I'm at B. Can you help me?"
I'm a bee. I need a bandage. I've been shot.
I've been out in an helicopter and it's only going backwards.
Some Japanese man just shot me.
It's from Hando. Right, time to end. Have a good one, folks. We might be live for a pre-show next week. If we're not, we will be back for a Canadian post-race podcast. So make sure you join us for that.
We should have said how many beavers are going to get munched during the race.
Yeah, except it's not beavers, is it? It's groundhogs.
Groundhogs, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. I almost said honey badger, but...
as well, another thing to know, if we're not on before the race, watch out for the marshals there. They are mental.
Yeah.
They are fucking stupid. They haven't got a brain. There'll be a Formula 1 car coming at 200 mile an hour and they'll just be like, "Oh, just go get that piece of debris." It's like, what?
What I'll do is, right, because I think there's something going around this track, I'm going to run to get it. And then he turns around to his mate and goes, "Mike, watch this." Fucking runs over, trips over, gets up, sees the car, shits himself, runs back, realises he hasn't got the piece of carbon fibre that was there.
Yeah. So then the car runs over the carbon fibre, gets a puncture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that were 2011. I remember somebody gone off, and I think it were Kobayashi in the Sauber. I think Perez were in the other Sauber. And he come round the corner. And there were a marshal in a leather jacket. Didn't look like a marshal, just a big fat bloke with a leather jacket. Just tripped him in the little road. And then as he got up, he tried to outrun a Formula 1 car coming at him at 200 mile an hour. So he tried to run to the left, tripped again, slipped, and Kobayashi had to lock up all of his tyres and then I think he ended up near the back. And it was just kind of like, what the hell are these marshals doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, watch out for that.
In answer to Drew's latest question, do safety car drivers carry a firearm? No, they carry a fire extinguisher. Right, time to end. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, more than likely. Have a good one, folks. Oh, final messages, actually. Check out Dynamic GT League for full of action racing on YouTube from GT Sport. That's Steve and Ray's Racing League. Also, we are probably either going to be getting into our ships and activating our dicks to blow up some other ships, or we're going to go racing, one of the two. Either that or James is about to become single. We'll find out next time.
I'm making that bed. Get on with making that bed.
Yeah. But you have to make a little dog ass and put yourself in it. Right.
Next time she says what you're building, you say dog ass.
I'm always in it. So. Right. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you all again soon.
See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Blah 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 blah.